for me, I'm running around again doing the bougie ballet dad errands last night. Shout out to everybody knows Footlights, and I get all these texts literally from all over the place. People, it's like nobody cares about me. Like I don't hear from none of these folks. It's like I'm just playing. No, but I started getting all these texts like, did you see Cordell West, Cordell West, Cordell West, Cordell West, Cordell West, Cordell West, our remix chat, other people. So I said, yo, I don't have a Forbes access. Renee said, I got you. Whoop, 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 whoop. Forbes, and FYI, I've already reached out to Cornel West and let him know whenever you want to respond, come back, come on through, because Forbes went in with the headline, Cornel West is broke. And long story short, the article argues that Cornel West has just been janky with his money, and that their justification for this evisceration, I would argue, maybe it's too strong, but this highly critical exploration into his finances is justified by Forbes as saying, look, if you want to be president or at least have impact on who will be president, you got to have your money right. And Dr. West, according to Forbes, has just been involved with all these affairs and messy divorces and mismanagement of all of his high salaries and speaking engagement fees, and has left himself in a situation where he's literally has a net worth of zero or worse. And it's scandalous. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
somebody in the chat is saying it's a hit piece. Here's the thing. It is. It's also completely based in facts, right? So one of my issues, and the reason, first of all, I got whoever, I can't even remember who tagged me on this, but the person who shared this on Twitter was like, this is why you can't let white people in your business, and I almost fell out of my chair. That said, part of the reason that I wanted, that I feel like this is worth just making sure people understand that this information is out there, is because consistently my concern in discussing Dr. West has been, I don't understand the decisions that he makes, the way he presents like the things that he's done. It always, like, I've always been asking the same question, which is like, why does he make these decisions, right? Like why are you doing these things? And who is it that's in your ear that's telling you like, this is a good idea, so you're going to do this thing? And I always question people who make decisions that to me feel like they're decisions on a whim, right? And the reality of the fact is you can love Dr. West, you can want to support him, you can do the whole thing, but you can't ignore some of the things that you wouldn't ignore if it was someone else, right? Like if there was someone else who was running for president and it was proven that, you know, they were like haphazard with their money, that they were maintaining $5,000 apartments for their, you know, the person they're cheating on their spouse with, that they left their spouse in one place and went to another state and was maintaining a whole life there to have their mistress, people would question that. So I don't understand like why it's problematic to just kind of look at the things that were pointed out, because all of the information in the article is based on actual court filings and his own writings, his own memoir. Like it's not, you know, it's slander if they're lying, right? So I just don't understand this, like, you shouldn't talk about these things. Of course there are other critiques, but this should be included in the critique, not ignored. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
So yeah, it's a hit piece. And yeah, Forbes, and I'm sure the authors and researchers enjoyed writing it and had fun with it and are getting their own petty whatever. But to your point, it is based in what seems to be well researched arguments. And I do think, and this is why, frankly, I've told again this crew want me to run for Congress, why I'm not running for Congress, because people be all up in your business and look to misuse what you have done. Now, admittedly, no investigation of my life is going to reveal nothing like this, because it's going to be wildly boring. And this is why, and this is honestly why, shout out to you, Josh, and others, I struggle with these blanket Rodney-esque condemnations of academics, because the reality is that Cornel West, both in terms of his salary, and I would even argue what is claimed to be his behavior in this article, is not representative of most academics, most Black academics, most Black radical academics. I don't think are making $500,000 salaries in annual incomes, running all over with secret women all over the place in Mexico and whatever else this article is claiming, and are not misrepresenting histories and politics or whatever, or are not falsely symbolic. They're not doing that. Now, they may not be doing what they should be, enough of what they should be, but that's sort of where I start to struggle with, what most people, probably not in our chat, but what most people in society experience when it comes to higher so-called higher level, higher academic scholarship or professors is very limited. Their engagement is with the popularity of a Cornel West, not with his work, not with anything he's written. Same with others that are at somewhat in that level, like him or not. People are not engaged with their work life experience, what it's like to work with them on a campus, or what their experience on campus is like vis-a-vis other faculty or administration. People don't see that. So I understand why, given obviously the colonialism and the role of academia and institutions, all of them in a settler colonial relationship, but to again blanketly condemn everybody in those spaces as an enemy until proven otherwise, I struggle with that. I'm struggling with that more increasingly. The more time I spend, and the more I see myself and others trying to do in those spaces, and what is being forgiven in other spaces. But yeah,
and it is a very tricky situation, and I agree that progressive candidates are held to a different standard. My opinion on that, because somebody said that in the chat, is the whole purpose in me wanting to support and uplift a candidate is because I want them to be different than what I'm already dealing with, right? So I am going to hold you to a different standard, because if I'm going to hold you to the same standards as all the nonsense that's already happening, then what's the point in even sorry, these children are so loud back here, in even supporting, what's the point in bringing this person to the forefront if they've got all this messiness? Because it's messiness, right? I don't want to see that in somebody who I'm going to then turn around and elevate as a person that we should be amplifying as a representative of me, right? So I don't think it's unfair for me to be like, damn, why, all of this in your history, all of this in your past. And I already had questions about how you responded to things about the fact that he never, in my opinion, adequately addressed the racist nonsense within MPP, or the sexual assault accusations against Nick Branna. I just feel like all of this stuff is messy. And it is, yes, intentional. He is a Black man who is saying all the things they don't want Black people to say. But at the same time, he is behaving in a way that amplifies for me that he believes that his proximity to whiteness and power allows him to behave in a way that these people behave. And we should know better. If we haven't learned already, you are not allowed to do that. It don't matter how close you are to the white people. You are not allowed to behave like them. And so I feel like we have to have these conversations if we're going to discuss someone actually being a representation of my policies, of my principles, of the things that I want to be pushed in the effort of improving the material conditions of people and Black liberation. They are certainly having
So
fun. Sorry.
no, it's all good. But let me ask you this, because I think you're right. I think in terms of standards that should be applied to left, those who claim to be representing radical and left movements, whether they're activists or candidates, academics, journalists, or otherwise, they should be held to a higher standard. I am curious, though, to what extent, because if I remember correctly, quote unquote, the worst thing he's accused of is bad money management, and it is infidelity, right? He's
Like full out getting people to leave their husbands to go live in other states with him while he lives
oh,
with them
that's
on the
right.
side, not with his wife. Like, I'm sorry.
That's right. That's right. So okay. So okay. So to what extent, if someone is looking to be a political leader, to what extent should that behavior disqualify them if they're going to represent a certain level of other politics? Do they have to be entirely perfect? Are there any lines we're willing, like where should the line?
So
But
perfection
yeah.
to me is it's a fool's pursuit, right? Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
going to be perfect. Everybody's going to have something in their history that you question and you're like, I don't know if I'm cool with all of that. But I feel like, if you are like all out, like living in an alternate apartment with another woman while your wife doesn't know, and if you're in another state with another woman who, you convinced to leave her husband with her two children so you can, like, I don't know. That's an interesting. So
I
Ricky
mean,
says,
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
so Ricky's question is, do you think these sort of pieces take away from the fact that the campaign ain't wearing no clothes? I don't know. Mate, I don't know.
I think, well, but part of what I thought the Forbes article is trying to say is that they don't explicitly say that, but I took it as they are trying to say, and this is where the politics of it for me comes in. I thought Forbes is trying to say his arguments are baseless politically because of his behavior here. And they do point out, like, this is someone who didn't even fill out the paperwork right for his election finances stuff. Like, they're trying to paint him as, I took it as, he's presenting himself as this radical socialist-like type, blah, 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 who has these criticisms, da, da, da. Rather than engage any of that, let's just look at the fact that this man is bad with his money and messy with his women. And so that's why that's really where my question is coming from. At what point do we as an electorate or a movement body say, Dr. West, that's messy, but
And at the same time,
is that our version of lesser evilism is really what I'm saying? Because other people would say we have to support Biden despite the fascism and the Gaza bombing and all of that,
right,
because he's not Trump.
And being genocide Joe, right? And I just, I don't have a good answer. Two Black said his mismanagement of money is not something to look over, and I agree, because one of the questions that I've been asking, and this is something that, for me, why I really read this article, because I'm not a Forbes reader either. Like, I don't, I'm not particularly in love with the fact that they're the ones who released the story. But I have been questioning, why is he running? Like, what is the purpose in him running? And if the man is broke and he is haphazard with money and he is he's got all kinds of personal messiness, like, is that part of the reason that he decided to run? Because he thought it was going to, elevate his popularity and give him some more opportunities, some more speeches, and some more book sales? Like, is that what the purpose is? Because then that's not even about the people. Right? So you have to put that question out there, and people have to resolve it for themselves. I'm not telling anybody they have to agree with me, right? Like, that's not my point. But I think to be mad at me for asking the question, which is always what happens, is where we fall short all the time in reviewing the people that, like, in reviewing the people that others are trying to elevate as those who should be representing us. Like, you have to ask the questions. And to me, it's problematic that he has all this personal messiness. To me, it's problematic that he clearly is wasteful with money. Like, these are things that to me, I'm like, is this who I want to be following around as a leader? Like,